and welcome back to Perkins Pipes. Got the Missouri Pride by Missouri Meerschaum out today, and there is a reason why I wanted this rough, tough-looking cob. First of all, I do enjoy smoking this, but this fits very well with part of what we're going to talk about in this video. As always, let's get this guy lit. Let's get to talking. This is going to be the last of the videos in the series on comic books that I've talked about. I read a lot of comics growing up. I enjoyed Batman, I enjoyed Spider-Man, I enjoyed Avengers, and Captain America and Iron Man and a bunch. But there were four that I was really, really into and actually subscribed to, which you could do back in the day. The two from DC that I liked the best were The Flash, who was my all-time favorite, Green Lantern. Then I had two from Marvel that I really liked, Rom, Space Knight, and then the comic I'm going to talk about today, The Fantastic Four. Now, depending on when this video comes up, there may be a new movie that has just been released or is just about to be released in the summer of 2025 about the Fantastic Four. And there's been other Fantastic Four movies out. I think there's been some cartoons along the way. Brief background, the Fantastic Four were Reed Richards, his girlfriend turned wife, Susan Storm Richards, her brother Johnny Storm, and Reed's good friend Ben Grimm. Now, Reed and Susan were scientists, and they got Johnny and Ben to go on this outer space trip with them. Ben was flying the spacecraft, as I believe the origin story goes. They got struck by cosmic rays, and when they returned to the Earth, they found out they had superpowers. In fact, their bodies had been substantially changed. Reed could stretch to amazing lengths and really twist himself into any kind of shape. Susan Storm, then Susan Richards, could turn invisible and could also project various force fields. Her brother Johnny Storm could, just like that, turn into flame and wouldn't burn his body, but the flame would allow him to fly around, and I think he shot out fireballs and so forth. And then Ben Grimm permanently was changed into something that, quite frankly, looks a lot like this cob. He had this rock-like skin, this rock-like structure around his body, and so he was, that's what he was. Now, they quickly realized that they could use their powers for good. And so they became known as the Fantastic Four. Reed became known as Mr. Fantastic. Susan Storm became the Invisible Girl, later changed to the Invisible Woman. Johnny Storm became known as the Human Torch, and Ben Grimm, the rock guy, became known as the Thing. And they had all kinds of adventures, both on Earth and in space. In space, they fought a big bad guy called Galactus, and there was the Skrull Empire, as I recall, and there was a race called the Kree that they had interactions with, and lots of stuff like that. On Earth, dealt with Victor Von Doom, who became known as Dr. Doom. He had this metal structure around him and a hooded cape, as I recall. But at any rate, lots of good stuff there. Now, there's been a number of of ensemble comic books. You had the Defenders, you had the Avengers, Justice League of America, Justice Society of America, and Fantastic Four. And while I really did enjoy Justice League, for some reason Fantastic Four was the one I subscribed to. And as with any ensemble cast, there were certain characters and aspects that I was drawn more to. I was always drawn to the fact that Reed and Susan Richards were married. Now, this is going to circle back to something in, really in all of the comics I liked. I love that aspect about Barry Allen. If you go back and watch that episode, I talked about the fact that Barry was married to Iris West, became Iris West Allen. I like the relationship that Hal Jordan, the Green Lantern, had with Carol Ferris. I like the relationship that Rom, Space Knight, had with Brandy. And I don't know, I guess it just hit me at that age in at late elementary school, early junior high, starting to develop romantic feelings. And I don't know, that kind of struck me there. But I especially like the fact that in some of these, the characters were actually married. I always enjoyed that aspect. That said, Susan Storm was not my favorite. The Invisible Woman, I mean, it was cool enough to howl, but, force fields and whatnot, just, wasn't quite my thing. Same thing for Reed Richards. He was not my favorite. The stretching, and DC had a character similar to that called the Elongated Man. I think there was one called Plastic Man, but again, that didn't strike me the most. The two characters that struck me the most were Johnny Storm, the Human Torch, and Ben Grimm, the Thing. Now, first of all, who among us doesn't want to be able to fly around? And you have stories like this that go back to ancient mythology, right? You think about the Daedalus and Icarus story, where they had the wings and flew around and so forth. So Johnny could just say, "Flame on," and whoosh, he would go up in flames and then be able to zip around. They were based in New York, and they had their offices and their science lab in a building called the Baxter Building. And so he could just fly out of the Baxter Building and fly around New York or wherever. And of course shoot fireballs. And quite honestly, what's not to love about that? Yet Ben Grimm, the Thing, really was my absolute favorite. And I think there are two aspects of this. One, he was incredibly strong. He had this rocky exterior, which again really does bear resemblance to this Missouri Meerschaum corncob pipe, which that was just really, really cool. Incredibly strong, and growing up as a young boy, what boy doesn't want to be strong? But the thing about Ben that was different from the other three members of the Fantastic Four, his condition was permanent, where the others could either turn it on, turn it off, like Johnny Storm did, or Reed didn't have to be extended and stretchy. He could be normal. Ben's was a permanent condition, and he didn't like it. People would come up to him all the time, "Hey, Mr. Grimm," or "Hey," they wanted his autograph and this kind of stuff. It really bothered him. He definitely had a romantic heart, but he felt no woman could love him looking the way he did. And so when he would go out around New York, he would wear a hat and a trench coat up high around him, collar flipped up, kind of trying to hide his appearance. And he always was wanting to find a way that, and by the way, if you hear that, there are some jets flying overhead. We are in the pathway for the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, and some jets are flying right now. I'm actually recording this on the Saturday of Memorial Day weekend. It's not going to come out till later in the summer, but we're getting ready for the big 500 race. That's a really cool sound. You know, that struggle, he didn't want this gift that had been given to him. He used it to serve others well. But it definitely cost him something. I think it cost him something that it didn't cost all the others. And so there was quite a bit of interesting character development with Ben Grimm, the Thing. So those are my 4 favorite comics from back in the day, comic books. Here's my question. Did you know the Fantastic Four? Did you ever read the Fantastic Four? Did you ever see any of the movies, including this new one that's either just come out or is about to come out here in the summer of 2025? And if you did read the Fantastic Four, who was your favorite character? Would love to hear from you. Folks, as Malcolm Guite likes to say, I do these little things in order at last to do nothing. Or as I like to say in Latin, Parva ut tandem, nihil agam. Have a wonderful day.